Okay, I'm back at it again. It is the Penguin episode 5 review, and things have gotten completely out of hand in the streets of Gotham. A crime family is now dead, a new one rises, and in the meantime, Oswald is still plotting crazy moves. Well, the last episode ended with Sophia gassing the Falcone family to death, with this exception of Vitti, who she kept alive for reasons only she could tell. As at the time, I thought she had kept him to make her transition to boss of the Falcone family easier, because he could and would give her the leverage and some street credibility for her leadership. But aside that, this episode begins with Oswald plotting a move on the son of Salvatore Maroni. Now remember, Oswald is on the outside again since he burnt bridges with Sophia, so he had to get some of his own guys who owed their loyalty to him directly to do this job. Now, I was impressed with Oswald because he led the hit on the Maroni's boy, because normally bosses don't even really go on to do drills with their crew. They just sit back and plan everything. But Oswald, even with his bum leg, is the first one into the barbershop, guns blazing. Talk about leading by example. Next step is a meeting with the Maronis in jail, and somehow this is the first time I am realizing that Nadia and Salvatore Maroni are married. I don't know how I missed that detail, but it is what it is. Moving on, Oswald is there to negotiate the return of his mushrooms in exchange for Taj Maroni. Here I'm thinking Oswald has some serious balls to come into this prison when he knows his life is on the line, but I can understand the bravado he has because he holds the ultimate trump card, which is life versus products, and he can always bet on the emotions associated with that life to come through at all times. But the negotiation and planned exchange is so comical because we all know that both sides are going to betray the other, but they agreed to do it anyway. Sophia Falcone is on the news as the sole survivor from the Falcone gas leak, and this time the chief of the police in Gotham is present at the Falcone home. It is a far cry from what would have happened when Carmine was alive, but it seems that so slowly but surely there will be a change in the relationship between the Falcones and the police, especially in positions of power. Well, Sophia denies knowing Vitti's whereabouts since he's the only one missing from the Falcone crew, and we know that automatically all suspicions will fall on him due to his absence. But then, the police chief is also worried because he knows Sophia's reputation as the hangman, and I'm sure he is wondering if this isn't her handwork once again. Now on to Vitti. Sophia hasn't changed in some other part of the estate, and I had said earlier that she was keeping him around to ensure her smooth transition to mob boss, but it seems I got that wrong because Sophia is more interested in getting some hidden cash which is somewhere around the house, and only Vitti knows its location. Vitti tries to stall at first, but when the cold state sets in, he is begging for his life and saying he can still be useful. Now watching this, I knew that like Sophia, giving Vitti a platform again equals to ordering her own death. Almost every man around her has dismissed, ignored, or imprisoned her, so she knows trusting Vitti cannot be a solution. Even as far as gaining the respect or street cred of the Falcone crew and gangsters, Vitti would only do that for a while before he makes plans to kill her, and I personally was hoping she didn't accept Vitti's proposal. But back to Oswald, it is time for the exchange. Taj Maroni for the mushrooms, but both sides have other plans. First off, looking at the meeting place, I remember The Wire when Chris and Snoop were teaching Michael about the street life, and one of the lessons was to get there early if there was to be a meeting. In this case, it seemed Nadia Maroni had the advantage because she had hidden shooters in the warehouse ahead of time. But Oswald has always been one devious madman, and I finally understood why Taj was dripping with liquid when Oswald brought him out of the van. Oswald soaked that man in gasoline, sent him to his mother, who hugged him, getting gasoline on her dress unknowingly, and then Oswald lit the both of them on fire. That sequence was so diabolical, but it also underlined Oswald's ruthlessness the moment his life or ambitions came into danger.
Well, Oswald might have won that battle, but the mushrooms they came for were mostly destroyed by the fire extinguishers, leaving only 2 useful buckets. Now, Oswald also had paid a guard to kill Salvatore Maroni in prison, but the guard made a mess of it, and Maroni somehow escaped from his cell and the entire prison itself. Now, I am not sure of Gotham's prison protocols, but that whole sequence was very sketchy to me. First off, how did Oswald manage to get a guard willing to gut Maroni in prison when presumably most of these guards, especially the ones looking after Salvatore, would be in his payroll? Now, even if that can be explained, how did an old man bleeding from his wounds just walk out of a prison, while the explanation given is that he got the keys from the guard who came to kill him? But that's the story at this point. But I think that a man of the profile of Salvatore Maroni doesn't just escape prison quietly. I expect news and reports of him being a wanted man by the next episode of this series. On the other hand, Sophia has gathered the gangsters under the Falcone family, and in a daring move, she's denouncing the Falcone name, reclaiming the Gigante name of her mother, and promising wealth and power to these guys. Now, this was not the plan she and VT must have discussed up until this moment, because VT thought it would be regular scheduled programming as usual. But the more he tries to interrupt, the more Sophia overrides him with even more crazy plans, and then she shoots him point blank in the head in front of everybody. And now that is what I call making a statement, because for all the talk about progress and leaving the Falcones behind, VT still sat there, a man who held a high position in that Falcone regime. So her killing him has bought her the credibility and street cred she needs in one fell strike. On the other hand, Victor had been given the task of taking care of Oswald's mom during the mission, and the glee on her face when he told her Oswald killed the Falcons is making me ask if she has any history with the Falcons, because her happiness at that news was not normal. But with the way things turned out, Victor had to take her out of the apartment to stay in Crown Heights, and this scene where Victor was sleeping deeply when Oswald came in is yet another reminder that Victor is still new to this life. Gangsters have to be very light sleepers, especially when there is war, and Victor only waking up when Oswald made some noise sitting close to him reminds us just how new he is to this life. Well, Sophia and Salvatore finally meet in some messed up apartments, which I'm thinking is in Lower Gotham, around where the seawall broke, so don't get surprised if Oswald and Salvatore run into each other very soon. But Sophia is proposing an alliance of the Gigante and the Maronis, and I'm thinking if this is just a political thing or a more intimate thing like a marriage-based alliance. But that is where it stands now. The war Oswald wanted to instigate between the Maronis and Falcons has been destroyed, and the war will instead be with Oswald versus Gigante and the Maronis. So it will be interesting to see what comes out of that. I still think Oswald will try to exploit and reignite the beef between the Maronis and the Falcons, because whatever the circumstances, that partnership is still a very new one, and both sides will never fully trust each other. So that's a wrap on this episode. Put your thoughts and comments in the comment section. Keep it locked in. Don't forget to subscribe, and I'll be back.